What's good, everybody? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Jump. Yesterday, I was alerted that popular black YouTuber Storm Monroe was hosting an interview for controversial YouTuber Cynthia G. Now, Storm Monroe, for those of you who don't know him, he is a guy that is in the celebrity audience, and unlike my audience, he appeals to mostly women. He's at one time was associated with Tasha K, and he's quite popular. He does pretty good in the gossip sector, celebrity entertainment sector of Black YouTube. And they had a pretty good interview. To be fair, I've only watched 25 minutes of the 2-hour stream, and to be honest, I thought it was a pretty interesting interview to kind of understand Cynthia G's points of view, where she's trying to come up with some of these things. And for purposes of this show, I'm not going to throw any shots or mention anything about her. I'm going to just deal with what she's talking about and keep this as intellectual as possible. But what this conversation was really about initially was, why is Cynthia G so frustrated with African American men? And I kind of want to first start off with this white women worshiping culture. All right. Now, Cynthia G is from the Pacific Northwest, I believe either Seattle or Portland or one of those places. And in her family, she has brothers who are dating out and deal with white women. She then has sisters who, I know for a fact, one of them at least, it looks just like her, has children by a white man. Okay. And Cynthia G, in her own cognition, early on in her life, she was able to believe that there is a difference between black women who date white men or marry white men, and those black men who date white women. When her sisters was dating white men, they never complained about black men at all. All right. So she didn't see that. They were dating white men because they were, a man, they could provide, they wanted to be faithful. Whereas the black men were saying that they wanted to date white women based on their skin tone. She's white, she's beautiful, she don't have a weave, she don't have a bad attitude. And this is why I'm not dealing with her. Okay. And her sister, or people that she knew that was dating white men, they still cared about black issues. So they could still be dating a white man, having a mixed race child, and they could still care about the issues of the black community, while the black men that she knew, anecdotally, they didn't do that. They wanted nothing to do with the black community. And hence, here's the formulations of Cynthia G's kind of, let me get at black men's issues on YouTube. It emanates from that early experience. Let me say this. From the onset of the interview, and I can kind of tell this, Cynthia G feels that when black men are dealing with white women and having mixed race babies, because she talks about it there, those babies are going to serve the system of white supremacy and white people. But when Cynthia G sees black women dating white men, she don't say anything about that. Okay? She just really has a big problem with black men that marry white women and produce those mixed race kids. Okay? Think about who has created all of the biracial classes in the world. If you want to look at Black Brazil, okay, the mulatto class in Haiti, okay, you want to talk about the mulatto classes everywhere. Where did those mulatto classes originate from? White men sleeping with black women. Now, we can argue if black women had a choice in the matter, because they didn't. I will defend that. But all of the mulatto classes that have ever been created come from, listen to what I'm about to say, white men and white fathers and black women. Those children serve their fathers. It happened in Brazil. It happened in Mozambique. Okay? It's happened in Angola. It's happened in Haiti. If you even want to talk about Liberia, those were the children, like Joseph Jenkins Roberts, of white ancestor fathers who had black mothers. So the biggest threat to the mulatto class has never really been black men with white women. It's been white men sleeping with black women. Those are the people who hold that sense of white supremacy we're talking about. Okay? But if you want to be fair, then what she can say is both groups. Okay? That's the right answer if you want to take the really B1 approach. You cannot give a scapegoat for one group of people to sleep with interracial and then leave the other. And that's the hypocrisy here in this argument. Cynthia G has a lot of smoke for black men dating white women, and it will honestly forgive white men dealing with black women. She will forgive that all day, because she's seen it in her family, and I believe that she has, nephews and nieces that are representative of that. That's one of the first things I want to talk about. Cynthia G also talks about black men are integration minded. Okay? She goes outside and she sees a lot of these black men dealing with these white women and things like that. They don't want to build anything, which, hey, there's a lot of truth to that. Okay? But if they're integration minded, let's look at the statistics. All right? And I think she's saying integration minded, not just wanting to be in the, just in white society, living in white neighborhoods. They're integration minded with their penis. Okay? Well then, Cynthia G, if there are some black men who are integration minded, what about the black men who are not integration minded? What about the black men who want to deal with African American women? We know there's many of them because there are statistics that show this. Many black men are wanting to marry black women. We see it every year. There are portions of African American men who deal outside the races, and we know that for sure, and we know it's on the rise. Okay? But it seems like you have a lot of smoke for the minority. And this is typically what happens. Like if I talk about single motherhood in black America, that's not necessarily the minority. It's closer to the majority or closer towards the middle. All right? There's many women that have children in black America, and most of those women are single mothers. So you can pretty much say that a lot of black women are single mothers because there's stats to prove that. But when you say that black men are integration minded, and if you go to look at statistics and a lot of black men are marrying black women, then what are you talking about? You're just attacking the minority. Now, you're from Seattle. That's true. It could be the case. Seattle is one city. I mean, there are many different cities in America where you have black men and black women marrying a lot. Most marriages happen with black men who want to marry black women. Okay. Now, I want to talk about also, this level of race loyalty. She talks about, that's the same thing there. But I want to kind of get back to black men don't realize their potential. And I believe this is part of her argument too. And I think that this is something that she does see. Like black men should be leading and they're not. Okay? And she understands white supremacy and racism. So if you understand white supremacy and racism and you want black men to be leading and they're not, okay? And you're a black woman that really cares about black men, because this is the argument she's making on Storm Monroe's show, then why do you call for their abortion? Why do you say mean things about them? Why do you try to disrespect the guys that you want to be leading you, that they don't know themselves? Because see, if you understood racism, then you understand why they are where they are, right? And it's amazing how all these people who say they understand racism and white supremacy, and they don't understand it. They don't understand it, because if you understood it, then you wouldn't attack those guys the way that you do. A lot of people say they understand things and they don't understand what they're reading. It happens a lot all the time. People who can read and don't understand. Obviously, if you don't understand white supremacy and you feel that you do, or you're not trying, or you're neglecting. Because if you understood why black people are at the bottom at all times, then you would know why it is. And at any point, if you want to encourage any group of people, then you have to give them something like that's constructive. I mean, every video is attacking black men. Even on my channel, there's certain sisters that have a certain mindset I can criticize, But I always make the case that we have black women in our community that are doing such and such. That's one thing about me I can say. I'm not perfect, but I will always iterate that. We have black women who are not representative of what I'm talking about. Very rarely will you hear Cynthia G say this. And she says that she sees that black men are the victims of white supremacy. Well, then why do they don't want to build anything? Because that's the system of white supremacy not telling these guys to build something. Right? But what about the guys who are building something? Of course you're going to have guys who are going to be losers. I talk about them all the time myself. But see, the focus should be on the black people who you feel that are constructive. And you don't see that from her. You don't see Cynthia G talking about black men who are doing something. You will see me talking about black women doing something all the time. You see? Really, all of this is, like I said, it's personally motivated. This is not for her to come out and try to, the reason why I'm doing this is because, no, you're a person that has personal ambitions against black men for whatever happened to you. There's no real theoretical logics here because you can see it's so easy to break this down. It doesn't even make any sense what you're talking about. It makes absolutely no sense. For a person who understands white supremacy to the level that you said you do, because I haven't read a whole lot of racial books and things like that. I don't know all the way how white supremacy works. But if I took that initiative, I would have a better understanding of black people. I would understand why they are where they are. And then I know that I would not be able to talk shit about them like that and get them to listen to me. That's what I do know about black people. But see, here we go. Because if it was a black man doing this to black women, it would be hate speech. We wouldn't get the opportunity to be able to defend ourselves. But guys, what do you think? It's your boy, O'Shea Duke Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Junk. I really appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe, hit the bell. Check out the first comment at the top. And as you know, the buffoonery remains at an all-time high. I'm out.